And the Oscar goes to Interstellar.
Ex Machina.
Jungle Book.
Blade Runner 2049.
First Man.
Here are this year's nominees for achievement in visual effects.
Best way to start, I think, is just by you telling me who you are, what you do.
Okay. Well, my name is Niko Pueringer. I'm one of the founders of Corridor Digital, which is a YouTube channel, and we specialize in doing VFX, action-heavy, spectacle-heavy YouTube videos.
Cool. So we're here today to talk about the movies that were nominated for an Oscar for visual effects. The whole thing with this movie is that it's made to look like it was done in one take.
It's not entirely revolutionary and unexplored before, but they're doing more complicated setups and scenes while still trying to maintain that one-take look. The challenge they have with that is that these effects need to be invisible.
I would love to talk about this long-run scene.
If you look at the behind-the-scenes shot and then the actual shot from the film, the first thing you might notice is like, oh, there's some extra explosions added, or there's some extra soldiers. But what you might not notice is there's things like the tire tracks from the car that they're driving have been removed, or the dust being kicked up from the tires. And that's much, much more complicated than just adding another explosion in the background. The challenge with 1917 is doing these invisible effects, but doing them for long takes and then having these hidden cuts be seamless, because the moment you get one of those little details wrong, you break the world. So I think looking at the scene, what would probably surprise most people looking at it is that the vast majority of it is 100% CG. Stormtroopers, the speeders, the sand, all that kind of stuff. There's a phrase for things like the dust clouds and the physics and things like that, the smoke. It's usually referred to as dynamics. That's one of the very first giveaways that it's a CG scene, is looking at the smoke and it being kind of having this almost like painterly quality where it's not quite realistic. And we're just kind of getting to the point where we can kind of match real life with that.
A lot of the hype that I heard was definitely around these animals, but you were talking about how it's really the setting that impressed you.
I'd say the biggest thing that stands out to me in any of these environment shots is the vast number of actual objects on screen. Like the shot of Mufasa and Simba walking through the grass as we focus away from the spider and onto them. There's thousands of blades of grass in this scene. There's leaves, there's hundreds of leaves on that bush in front of the camera. And so all of these things need to have this incredible amount of detail. So that's what stands out to me as being incredible here. The animation's great. The rendering, impeccable. The lighting simulation, great, wonderful. All that's awesome. But the fact that all of it comes together cohesively, that's way crazier to me. So there's a couple things about Avengers that are really impressive. One of the first ones is the time travel suits. All those suits that you see them wearing, those are completely CG. And they look completely realistic. You cannot tell that they are fake. They replace the entire body except for the head. And that's insane.
Why would they do that?
Well, it takes a lot of time to construct these costumes for these characters. And it's only being used for 5 minutes of the film.
Is there anything particular on the suits that made them stand out to you?
So I was scrutinizing the suits when I watched the scene again. And the only things that really give them away as being CG, and you have to really be looking for it and know what you're looking for, it's when they're interacting with something real. So a suit really only interacts with two real things: the neckline of the actor and the feet on the ground. You have to fake the shadow from the suit being cast on the ground. And there's a lot of nuances to that, but nobody's analyzing the necklines.
Right.
To me, out of all the films that have been nominated for an Oscar here for Best Visual Effects, The Irishman has the most unique, brand new technology. So the reason they're going through all this trouble is because they want to tell a story of a character throughout his entire life. And they need to get him at his, when he was 60, when he was 50, when he was 40, when he was 30. How do we let this guy shoot the movie like this with actors not wearing any markers or tracking suits, and yet we somehow need to capture a full 3D model of the face for every frame of the movie? Basically, full real-time 3D motion capture. They just lit the scene with infrared lights from the witness cameras, they're called. So they're seeing the scene with perfect lighting, and we can't see it with our eyeballs. The actors can't see the infrared light. The main camera that they're filming the scene with can't see the infrared light, and it was really, really smart. They did encounter one problem, though, and that is old cars. Old car windshields and glass, they used to use LED when they'd make the glass. LED doesn't let infrared light through, so they actually had to remove all the windshields from the cars. And anytime you see a car in the film, that windshield, the reflections on the windshield, that's fake.
Do people really care about this award?
These are just 5 films, and a good chunk of them are just kind of doing the same techniques we've already done. In fact, when it comes to visuals, there's so much going on in the space. Every year you're building off of the knowledge and the tools that you've gained from the previous years. So these more advanced techniques that they're using for all these movies, it's lending the visuals to looking a lot more photoreal. But we've seen it before. The Oscars, it's good recognition, but there is so much more that drives an artist, at least a visual effects artist, outside of hoping to win an award like an Oscar.